My name is Kelly Blair Hart, and because of who we are, my husband and I, and because we're so into education and the importance of education, I have a 6-year-old that wants to be a science teacher at 6, and I think that's amazing because, I remember at 6 and what my life was like at that point, and it wasn't, positive. I was born here in Washington, D.C. I have a twin brother. We have been separated from our natural mom since about age 2. It was a difficult life growing up. My father was an alcoholic, and there were times when we were homeless, and just couldn't seem to get stability within our lives. One of the first memories I have about schooling, actually, was a school in Gaithersburg, Maryland. I remember being homeless at the time and sleeping on a park bench that was like a couple blocks away from the school. I remember the embarrassment of what if, one of my fellow classmates had walked past that. So when I think about that in terms of education, it wasn't there. It wasn't a priority on my list. I would say it was more of survival mode. What I dreamt about was where our next meal was coming. I had been suspended for multiple reasons, and I remember they told me, it was after one huge fight that I had, that this was going to be the one that was most likely going to expel me from school. And I do remember being in front of the school board and them asking you why you're not like everybody else. That I was a danger in their school system, and I couldn't be there. And I remember feeling, this is not me. But I had no way to express it. And if I could, would anybody believe it? There were so many times I just wanted to say, this is not me, and I know I can be regular. I know I can do this. And so I was sent to alternative education. And that didn't last too long either. I got sent out of there. And from there, I went to Job Corps. When I was at the Job Corps Center, I had the roof over my head. I had, food, and I didn't have to worry about that. And then that was the time where I was able to think past day-to-day living and surviving. That program allowed you to take the GED test one part at a time. And so I remember focusing on just the reading, focusing on just the writing, and that's when I found out that I have a skill for writing. And so I began writing stories while being at Job Corps with a teacher that helped me. That was the first time where I felt important. Important in the aspects of education. For the first time, a teacher, was telling me that I had something special going on. And I latched on to that. And so I began employment at the local retail store. And I remember one day, one of my coworkers, I will never forget her name, Carla, and she noticed the ability for drawing that I have. And she said to me, you should go over to the community college and take an art class. And I remember my exact remarks to her was, no, thank you. Education and I don't get along, and that's not what I want to do. And I said, Carla, I didn't make it through high school. I have a GED. There's no way I'm going to take a course at a community college, even if it is just art. And I refused. She picked me up for work because I wasn't driving. Instead of going to work, she took me straight to the registration for Northern Virginia Community College and paid for that first art class and took it with me, just so I wouldn't be alone with it. And that's how I began my community college career. Remember, you have to stack 5 liquids in here. When I started teaching alternative education, I realized I had something here that could motivate a lot more students than I thought. In order to grab those students, I began talking and telling them about myself. And that motivated them. And I realized I have something here, that would capture them. You want to try to pour the green yourself? They automatically assumed that I had everything and always had everything, and that, my life was just perfect. That shocked me. But then I realized they have no idea what I've been through. They have no idea that, yeah, I know what it's like to be hungry. Yes, I know what it's like to have an alcoholic parent. Yes, I know what it's like to be living on food stamps. And yes, I know what it's like to have to go to a church to get your next meal. And I just blurted it all out, standing in front of that class for the first time, and you could see the mouths hitting the floor. And my students just were amazed at the fact that I had come from that background to where I am.
I can do this, Miss Hart. You don't like me? I got it.
Look at that. You got it?
That's what happened to me.
My hand.
Look how beautiful that is.
My hands.
I should have put more blue.
You still can.
Can I get my bottle?
My nuzzled their bellies with his nose and
Katrina, my daughter, her life will be completely different than mine. And I feel that she will never will know how it feels to struggle or to be homeless. And she knows that she is loved and supported. And every night I tell her, you know, that I love her and that I'm here. Screaming. You know, sometimes Katrina shrieks very loudly. About 15 minutes, okay? And then you need to breathe a little bit, okay?
okay.
She will never know what it feels like to be hungry. She will never know what it feels like to think that you are so different that you're not cared about. My daughter will always know who her mother is.
Are you laying down?
I don't know, I was tired. All right, so.
It's for books.